Welcome to Dark Docent. My name is Jake. Join me as I guide my friend James down the paranormal rabbit hole, attempting to prove the authenticity of a new case each week. Today's case, the Montauk Project. How are we doing today, James?
I'm a little tired, Jake. How are you?
When aren't we tired? I am fine.
Well, yeah, fair point. We're getting old.
That's it? Okay, good.
We're almost 30. Ugh.
Gross. Yeah. My brother, once drunk off his ass, talked about how he encountered a woman at a bus stop who was extremely old, like, quote, 30. So, we're there.
The end is nigh.
Damn right. But I'm not tired in the physical sense, but I am tired in the mental sense. Last week, we got into the Philadelphia experiment.
Yes, we did.
And the Philadelphia experiment is complicated as you heard, and it gets a little strange.
It was kind of all over the place. Teleportation, aliens, a book.
Yep. Okay, you thought that was complicated? This is worse. Here's where it gets nuts. Today, we are diving into the Montauk Project. And normally I surprise you with these things. But Montauk and the Philadelphia experiment are so heavily tied together that I wanted to compile them into one topic.
Well, I mean, you're lucky I already haven't heard of it.
Yes, most people have who are at least into the field that we are talking about today.
The magnetic field.
Yes, there are mentions of magnetic fields and electromagnetism in this, and that is the most scientific we are probably going to get.
Perfect.
So for people who don't know, Montauk is what the show Stranger Things is based on. So much so that the show was actually originally going to be called Montauk. And I'm telling you now, there are some extremely wild claims in this. And I just need you to follow along. And just know, we are getting somewhere.
Well, just like last time, I'm probably going to ask some questions that you have very clearly answered. And you just have to bear with me.
I will bear with you. I'm here to educate. I am your guide. So where we left off last time, brothers Duncan and Ed Cameron have just jumped off the USS Eldridge. And they landed in a completely different place and time. And you're going to notice something right off the bat. Something's going to be different from where we left off. I just need you to stay with me.
Okay. There's a chance I might not even notice what's different.
You probably won't. The Cameron brothers leaped from the USS Eldridge expecting to land in the water below. However, after they jumped, they hit ground. And they were surrounded by blinding lights. And as they got back to their feet and got their wits about them, they noticed it was nighttime. And the spotlight was from a helicopter above them, and from the headlights of a Jeep that had just parked in front of them. Two military policemen got out and grabbed them, and proceeded to escort them back to the Jeep. They were thrown in the back seat, and drove to a military base not far from where they ended up. When they got to the base, they were walked down a long hallway. They said it seemed longer than it should have been. At the end was a large elevator. The MPs hit a button, and they began to go down, way further than they think it should have gone. When the elevator doors opened, they saw a familiar face. John von Neumann, the head scientist of the Philadelphia experiment. Only he looked older. He looked at both of them and said, "Welcome to 1983, boys." They were in an underground base underneath Montauk Airforce Station in Long Island, New York. It was a decommissioned radar station and had become unofficially the headquarters of the Montauk Project. Now, this base is a real base, and it's creepy as hell. And I have some pictures for you.
Pictures?
Yes, sir. This base is a real base.
1984.
1983.
83? That's like 40 years.
Yes, they went ahead 40 years in time.
Oh my god.
You see, the Philadelphia experiment created a rift in time that connected 1943 and 1983. And this rift remained open. And we will get into what went on after this in a moment.
Yeah, let's see some photos first. It's been a long one. I need to take a break.
So, Montauk Airforce Base is famous for its giant radar tower. Here is a picture of that radar tower.
Neat. Looks kind of Soviet almost.
A little bit, especially with no windows and the gray building.
Yeah. Brutalism.
Yeah. So, Montauk Air Force Station was made back in 1943. And it was a cool thing.
Wait, it was made in 1943?
Yes,
Convenient.
it is. Here's the thing. This base is really cool because it was built to be a military base. It was built to defend the coast from any enemy attacks. And the cool thing is, they made like a fake town. So the entire base looks like suburban homes in like a rural neighborhood. But the windows are just all painted on plywood and fake doors. And there's even a church there. But the church was actually a gymnasium, so the soldiers stationed there could stay fit. And every house actually had nothing in it. But underneath the houses were military bunkers, where all the soldiers stayed. So it was like a big town made to look like a bunch of nuclear family homes when it was actually a military base.
Huh.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And then that big radar dish in the middle of it.
Yes. Yes, isn't that cool?
How ominous.
So that radar dish is very important. That was actually one of the most powerful radar dishes at the time. And it was used for tracking any possible Soviet missile strikes or any other enemy attack coming their way. It was called the ANFPS-35 radio tower, and it could detect things over 200 miles or 320 kilometers away, with some citing that the dish could detect things up to a maximum of 280 miles away. So it was pretty powerful for its day. Also, the dish itself is 126 feet long and 38 feet tall. And that's on top of an 85-foot tall concrete tower with no windows. And it looks extremely ominous.
Yeah. It definitely, I'd say, stands out a bit.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in the middle of a little town.
Yeah. You can actually go to the town, like nowadays.
Yeah.
You can't go to the tower, though. But doesn't mean people haven't tried.
You can't legally go to the tower.
A lot of people have illegally gone to the tower. We'll get into it. But it's actually a state park now called Camp Hero, and you can walk around and look at all the buildings and stuff like that.
Can you go into the bunkers?
No, the bunkers are sealed off, and there's concrete slabs in front of a lot of them.
Right.
But there's something else interesting when you go to the base. There is a lot of graffiti. And this graffiti alludes to a lot of strange things that allegedly happened at the base. A lot of it ties to conspiracy theories. People don't just go there for exploration. People go there to find the truth. And the way we're going to get into this is I'm going to introduce you to a few people. Kind of like Pulp Fiction here, okay? So I'm going to introduce you to one person, and then another person, and another, and their stories are all going to tie together in the end, okay?
What ain't no country I ever heard of? Is that the line?
Say what again?
Was that the line?
It was the line. So we are going to start with a man named Preston Nichols. Nichols claimed to be an engineer at Montauk in the early 1970s. He specialized in electromagnetism, and he worked for a defense contractor called AIL on Long Island, where he was working with psychics to study telepathy. Now, the results of his research were promising. They found that telepathy behaved like radio waves. And the way he found this out was that every day, at the same time, his subjects' minds were blocked, and they couldn't do any more psychic experiments during that time. After 3 years of this, Nichols decided to use radio equipment to monitor signals during the time of the block. And he found that between 410 and 420 megahertz, his subjects' minds would be blocked for 20 minutes. So now that he knows that there's something interfering, he built a mobile transceiver to find where the signal was coming from. And where do you think it led back to, James?
Russia.
Close?
Uh,
I said close, but it wasn't actually close.
no, I didn't think it was. Trying to think of somewhere that, I don't know, Iran?
We did just talk about it. Like 5 minutes ago.
Philadelphia?
All right. So, it was tracked back to Montauk Airforce Base.
Holy shit, that's where I thought we were right now.
So, Montauk is the town. Montauk Airforce Base is different.
Huh. How about that?
Yes. So,
This is going to be a long one.
it is. We aren't even at the confusing parts yet.
That's what I'm worried about.
Here's the thing. It didn't just track back to the base. It tracked back directly to the pinpoint location of that massive radio tower right in the middle. Well, there's nothing we can really do about that. No one could get in there without the right clearance. So after years of this, until the late 1970s, this kept happening. The subjects of the psychic tests would get blocked at the same time every day. And then, one day, it just stopped. Around the same time as the base was decommissioned in 1983.
What a coincidence.
Interesting. Now here's the thing. This base was officially decommissioned in 1983. And almost instantly, people began to explore it. Because, of course you would.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You get all the best loot when you're the first one there.
Goddamn right. Well, here's the thing. One of Nichols' friends called him and said, "You need to go to that airbase because it's completely abandoned and it is strange. You should go explore it. You gotta see it for yourself." So in 1983, he went there. And here's the thing, James. The base was completely deserted, but not in the proper way. Things weren't cleaned out. Walls were wrecked. Machines were destroyed. Filing cabinets were left there. Whatever happened there, they were out in a hurry. It looked like some sort of disaster happened, and everyone hastily abandoned the premises. As Nichols was exploring the many abandoned buildings, it felt almost familiar to him. He felt like maybe he'd been here before, but then he heard a sound. Someone, or something, was in the buildings with him. He began to investigate the sound, and as he turned a corner, he encountered a young homeless man. The homeless man looked at Nichols terrified, and Nichols tried to calm him down, saying, "Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you," things like that. Once he calmed down the homeless man told him that he was once an engineer here, and he worked on the project, but he escaped once the monster was released. Preston was confused. He asked, "What monster? What project? What are you talking about?" The homeless man looked back at him with confusion as well. He said, "You don't remember? You're Preston Nichols. You ran the Montauk Project." After this, Nichols started to get strange visions about the base, which were accompanied by strange things happening in his personal life. Slips in his memory. Things would happen that wouldn't be consistent with how he remembered them. So he started to research what happened on the base. And through his research, he found a man who was a gifted psychic named Duncan Cameron.
This sounds like the script of a movie.
I just need you to hold on.
Okay, hold in.
This isn't the weird part, James. This is just the beginning. I'm just setting things up for you. So Nichols brought Duncan to the base, just to see if he could sense anything. But the weird thing is, Duncan knew his way around almost instantly. Strange memory-like visions began to come to him. As he entered each building, he'd know what each room was, what it contained, and even what the buildings were before they were abandoned. And the more they ventured, the more these memories would return. Duncan began to remember the horrible experiments that were done at Montauk. He also remembered that he was a big part of them. And when they actually walked into the transmitter building with the large radar tower on top, that's when Duncan remembered his true purpose. According to Preston Nichols, Duncan went into a trance-like state. He said he was programmed to find Nichols, befriend him, and kill him. And once that was done, he was to return to Nichols' lab and destroy all of his research. But now that Duncan was aware of his programming, he was able to fight it. And also, Nichols had a solution to deprogram him completely. So Nichols was obsessed with this topic at this time. He actually rebuilt the testing rooms from the Montauk facilities in a school bus he owned. And he was able to deprogram Duncan to give him full control of his consciousness, so he didn't have to fight these urges to kill Preston Nichols anymore. And the more these two worked together, the more memories would come back to both of them. Nichols knew that he was a part of the project, but he didn't know to what extent. And then a memory hit Duncan like a ton of bricks. He was on a ship. He was on the Eldridge. He was a part of the Philadelphia experiment. So what do you think so far?
I'm doing my best to follow along.
It's a little nuts.
Yeah.
This is just the premise to set it up.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, is people have gone inside this base.
Yeah.
People have filmed the inside of the base. And it's true. It is destroyed and things are thrown all about. I actually have a video of it if you want to see it.
Sure.
This video is by Brian Minnick, who is big into the Montauk conspiracy. He took this video back in 1994.
Oh shit, all over there too.
Military civilian. There was a plan of this. Someone painted over there. Where something.
Safety glasses required in this area. This ain't no lounging with What's that? A pencil sharpener? What is that? No.
I mean, I get the gist. It's roughed up abandoned building. Like, I've seen some, I guess you can call it urban exploring videos on YouTube of like bunkers in Russia or something, and it's the same sort of stuff. It's all, no one's ever the first one in there when they're filming their YouTube video.
Yeah. People
love to vandalize shit. Like, there'd be people in there fucking one weekend for sure.
Yeah, but there's people who went in there right after it was decommissioned and reported the same thing.
Yeah.
Stuff was torn apart. Things were broken. Not much had changed.
And sorry, just touching on that too. Like the videos I've seen too, there's always tons and tons of stuff left behind. Like one I saw there's just crates of gas masks that are like Soviet era still just sitting in there, and all that just picked up and walked out.
For a regular base, that would be true. There would be some remnants of things like that.
Yeah.
But this Montauk base was allegedly home to some crazy experiments. Like, I'm talking world-bending experiments, highly classified. And if all these things happened, I think they'd rather burn this place to the ground than just leave it. For example, MK Ultra. Most of its files were destroyed. Not, oh no, we don't know where they are. Like, literally burned by the US government, so you wouldn't find out the extent of what they did. We know minimal amount of what they did from what files are left and the witnesses, victims, and whistleblowers who have come forward about the project.
That's how you know they were having fun.
Wait till you hear what they did here. But it's the same thing here. If the things happened that allegedly happened here, this base would be gone.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be like this. It would have a lot stronger security and a lot more guards. It wouldn't be like this. So we're going to fast forward a little bit.
There's more time dilation in these couple episodes than there was in the Roswell episode.
I'm going to introduce you to another man who also began to have visions in the beginning of the 1980s.
Okay.
His name was Al Bielek. For most of his life, Al lived a pretty normal life. However, in the early 1980s, Al began to have visions and strange reoccurring dreams. Before this, he had no involvement in conspiracy theories, UFOs, any of that stuff. He was just living a normal life. But between 1981 and 1983, he began to have these reoccurring dreams and visions that he could not explain. According to Al, they felt like fragments of suppressed memories resurfacing. They didn't feel like dreams, they felt like memories. At first, he experienced what he described as, quote, isolated moments. But then he started recalling conversations. And then he started reconstructing full events. But in 1988, something happened. There was a movie playing that he went to go see. That movie? The Philadelphia Experiment. There was a film made in 1984 called The Philadelphia Experiment about the Philadelphia Experiment.
Oh.
And the movie's a little weird, and there is a lot of weird rumors around it. One of which is that there was several government officials on the set of the movie trying to get him to stop making the movie, and even offered him money to cease production. And also that the movie was withheld from release for like 2 years, and nobody knows why. So there's some weird stuff around that. But here's the thing. After seeing this film, Bielik began to remember everything. And this movie hooked him right back in. From this, he reconstructed entire events that happened. The things that happened? Time travel experiments, mind control programs, kidnapping children to make them sleeper agents, involvement with extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings. It all happened at one place. And that was Montauk Air Force Base. Bielik stated that he had recovered every single piece of his memory, including his past identity. Because he wasn't Al Bielik before this. He was a man named Ed Cameron.
Duncan's brother, Ed Cameron?
Yes.
Oh my god.
This is where it gets weird. Now, at the beginning, I told you that they landed at Montauk Air Force Base.
Sorry, before this, did Duncan still remember that he was Duncan?
Duncan had past memories. And we'll get into...
Yes.
I can't tell you without spoiling things.
Okay.
You are not going to know what happens. This is insane.
Okay, just along for the ride.
At this point, Duncan knows he's Duncan. And Al knows he's Ed.
Okay.
Okay?
Wise words, just shut up and listen.
For this one, it's just very confusing. I was confused. I had to reread several.
Hey, I'm asking questions 3 minutes into the movie. I get it. It's all going to come together.
Here's the thing, James.
Yep.
At the beginning of this episode, I talked to you about how Ed and Duncan landed in Montauk Air Force Base.
You did mention that, yes.
And I know a lot of people listening to this are going to say, last episode, you said Ed landed in the year 2137. Those don't align.
Oh yeah, you did mention that, didn't you?
I did. Here's the thing. Duncan landed at Montauk Air Force Base, and Ed landed with him. The only difference is, Ed went on a little journey before they both ended up at Montauk. So Ed woke up in 2137, Ed being Al Bielik. This is probably the craziest episode we've done yet. This is supposed to be episode 15. That's how long I've been holding off on this.
What was that movie? Idiocracy?
Yep.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
So before they ended up at Montauk Air Force Base, Ed was on a journey himself. Ed had woken up in a hospital in 2137. And in 2137, the world had changed quite a bit. The entire eastern seaboard, including Florida, was underwater. California was nothing more than a bunch of clustered islands similar to Hawaii. And the Great Lakes were now one massive lake. The reason for all this very drastic damage and change is because over 100 years prior in the 2000s, there was a nuclear war between the West and China and Russia. This caused the entire Earth's population to shrink from 10 billion to a measly 300 million people. Governments didn't exist anymore. Everything was run by martial law. It was a society entirely built on fighting and surviving. And just as Ed was about to have a nervous breakdown, he slipped through time again, jumping ahead to the year 2749. So he's just randomly slipping through time.
2749, goddamn.
He went ahead over 600 years. When he got here, though, the 2700s were a lot different than the 2100s.
No kidding.
So at this point, civilization had not just healed itself, it had thrived and grown into a futuristic utopia. There was anti-gravity technology that made floating cities that could float miles above the Earth. And these cities weren't run by the flawed, outdated idea of a human-run government. The entire system internationally was run by artificial intelligence. It knew what was going on all over the world. Human life was way easier. There was no such thing as struggle anymore. As long as you contributed to the society, every one of your human needs were met.
Sounds like communism.
Every single person says that! Yes, this is basically a communist utopia.
Just listen to Animal Farm. It's a trap.
The AI would handle all of the work. All the machines, farming, construction, you name it. But even though this was a utopia, Ed thought it came with a lot of negatives. People lost their autonomy, their determination, ambition. They were just mindless drones for a machine. And then they were gifted things for listening.
I also just listened to 1984.
So you're on this right now, you get it.
I've been thinking about it a lot. So this is hilarious timing with that and also current world events.
Now here's the thing.
Yep.
According to Ed, he lived here for 2 years. He became a tour guide. And he had a decent job working under the system.
2 years?
2 years.
Tour guide?
Hmm.
Touring what? He doesn't know his way around.
He learned. And then all of a sudden, we slip through time again. And this is where we end up back at the beginning of our story, back in Montauk in 1983. And this is where both Ed and Duncan landed at the same time. So Ed went on a bit of a journey before they both ended up in the same place. Time is a construct, James.
Well, I do have a bit of an issue with time travel that I just, don't know enough about to be like, yeah, that could work or not work. But we live on Earth.
Yeah.
Earth is orbiting around the sun, always changing, location in space.
Yes.
Our solar system is in the Milky Way galaxy.
Yep.
That's moving.
Yep. So I get what you're saying. Like, if you go through time, you should be ending up at the same place, right?
Yeah. Milky Way, that's all going around Sagittarius A star. Everything is moving.
Yeah, you could end up at like Alpha Centauri.
Well, I was just thinking, like, let's say I pop 10 years into the future in this position. I'm just in space.
Yes. That's because time travel is taken too literally.
Yes.
When it comes to time travel and interdimensional travel, a time machine would have to work in space and time, not just time. A time machine that is strictly time would be extremely flawed. Now, when it comes to interdimensional, this goes through time and space. And this vortex would work in the same way. It would rift through time and space, not just time.
And it's somehow anchored to a physical place.
It's somehow anchored to a physical place. But there's also a spiritual reason why people are anchored to a physical place. We're still going.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's go back to the early 1980s. They were curious how John von Neumann was still here and how he knew where they were going to end up. Well, that's because John von Neumann knew there was a problem during the Philadelphia experiment. Something went horribly wrong, causing many fatalities. But afterwards, the official name for the Philadelphia experiment was Project Rainbow. After Project Rainbow and the success and failures of that, people started to move to the Phoenix Project. So the goal of the Phoenix Project was to use radiosonic technology to influence weather patterns. That was in the 1940s and 50s. In the 60s and the 70s, with the rise of MKUltra, the Phoenix Project shifted to Phase 2, which was, can we control minds? They were working on weather control, and they slowly shifted to behavioral control and electromagnetic mind influence experiments. They believed they could use very low electromagnetic fields to change the way a person behaves. And then in the 1970s, we got to Phase 3. And Phase 3 was when they were focusing on psychic amplification and time manipulation. They were focusing on using that massive radio tower. The one that was supposedly used for defense from Soviet missile attacks? Yeah, no, bullshit. That massive radio tower was used to amplify psychic abilities.
Of course.
That's the only reason it's there.
That's why I'd put it there.
Goddamn right. They were experimenting trying to make time tunnels. And they were trying to make different rifts through interdimensional space.
This is both right up my alley and just like way too absurd.
Just hold on. Now here's the thing, is that these different initial Phoenix Project experiments were all in different locations. But it was in the 1970s when they decided to move it into Montauk, because of that nice big radio tower that could be used. And it was decommissioned as a radio tower, so they could use it as just some rundown base that no one used. Now, in the early 1980s, this is when shit got really, really dark. They were working on manipulating space-time, using physics and alien technology. They had a device called the Montauk chair. Montauk chair was wired up to computers and different sensors, and it could make electromagnetic fields to react with different brainwaves. As we spoke of before, Professor Nichols, who was working on that brainwaves telepathy thing.
Yeah.
It was also covered in large metal coils and connected to several receivers and a massive supercomputer at the end. The goal was to control the human mind. Now, I have an artist rendition of what the chair looked like if you would like to see it.
I would love to see it.
Okay. Here's an artist's interpretation of the Montauk chair.
I barely even see the chair.
Yeah. It's basically just a chair with coils on it.
Yeah, it looks like Buddy's reclined. There's just a wall of computers on the other side, like the old-fashioned things with like spinny bits on them.
Yeah.
It's all silver.
Yeah. It's just all metal with coils.
Yeah.
This chair was based on Nikola Tesla's theories on resonance and energy and it was reverse engineered from alien technology. Because in flying saucers, James, there's no buttons and knobs. The entire ship is controlled by psychic ability. And I know that sounds nuts, but that has been reported by other people, like high-ranking military and government officials, who have seen the inside of crashed saucers. And they claim there's never a button or a knob, leading people to believe that these are controlled by feeling or by telepathy or psychic ability.
Just flying based off of vibes.
Basically. Here's the thing though, when someone would sit in this chair, whatever that person thought about would appear on screen.
Uh-oh.
Now, Ed was also used in these experiments, but Duncan was the prodigy. He could think about anything and have it manifest on the screen almost instantly. They felt that they could build the project around Duncan.
Did these guys become psychic after they traveled through time? Wait, no, this is back in time again.
No, this is 83.
Oh, okay, this is 83.
Yeah, so these guys had psychic abilities all of a sudden, because they haven't tested it on the chair yet.
Yeah.
So the chair amplified Duncan's ability, though he was already a prodigy and it was easy for him to do so. It wouldn't just manifest objects though.
500 cigarettes.
Don't put you in there. James sitting in the Montauk chair. What are you going to get? A white monster and 1,000 cigarettes.
And a pair of pit vipers.
Goddamn right, brother. He's only picturing the things he doesn't want still. 9-to-5 job, fucking like Patrick when he's in his dream on the pony ride.
Yeah, it's me thinking about me being at work, thinking about not being at work.
So here's the thing. Because this chair wouldn't just let you manifest objects. It would also let you see distant places and travel through time. So the way this worked is that you could transfer your mind to different places in time. And sometimes you were strong enough, you could transfer your mind to a destination and it would manifest your physical being in that space and time.
I had a similar experience before, but I was on a lot of psychedelic drugs.
Okay, well, all you needed was a metal chair.
I had a lazy boy.
Close enough. That's all you gotta do. A lot of drugs and lay in your lazy boy and you're doing the Montauk Project. Manifest what you want. Bag of Doritos.
Yeah. Hot dog.
Costco hot dog. 500 Costco hot dogs. That's what I would do. Costco hot dog all the way. One of the reasons that Duncan became a prodigy in this project is because he would withstand large amounts of electromagnetic energy. Because that's what this did. It would just electrocute you, and it would amplify your telepathy and psychic abilities.
Okay.
Well, not electrocute, but blast you with electromagnetic energy.
Yeah, electrocution is when you die from it. Fun fact, everyone hates it. No one likes that fact.
Don't believe me? Plug in a toaster. Jump in a bath. Don't actually, because then I'll get blamed for it. They started by blasting him with different frequencies of electromagnetic energy, just to see what would happen. Same thing with MK Ultra. Dose him up with LSD, see what happens.
A great baseline for any experiment is just fucking see what happens.
Just start blasting.
Yeah.
They found that each frequency they used could make Duncan act differently. Certain low frequencies could make him fall asleep, and they thought maybe they could transfer this to a battlefield, causing enemies to fall asleep, and then you can just walk on by. Be a great thing to use. The problem is this powerful machine didn't just affect the person using it. People in the area saw the effects of this machine. Animals were apparently extremely affected by these projects. They would run from the woods and ram themselves into the windows in the town. And many people reported several deer and different animals just running into their buildings and then running back into the woods covered in blood.
Sounds like something a not deer would do.
Yes, but basically no reports of not deer before 2000. Is Montauk a part of this?
Montauk was before 2000, but so was the burning of Alexandria. So that could also be related.
I'm adding to the theory I'm working on. The Great Library of Alexandria also had how to defeat a not deer. We've lost that information. So after a few of these tests, they thought they could up it a little more. They wanted to try something they called the seeing eye. This was if Duncan had something of someone's, like something very personal, or maybe a lock of their hair. He could see through them. He could feel what they felt and hear what they heard. And he could do this with anyone, from any distance, all over the world at any time. This is very similar to the idea of remote viewing.
It sounds like it's stepped up a notch.
It is stepped up a notch.
Remote being?
Remote being. It's basically like when you die in a video game during multiplayer and the screen goes to your buddy first before you respawn.
Yeah, you see him teabagging you.
Oh, man, that'd be horrible. Duncan's like in the chair passed out and he sees the doctor smacking him around.
First person view of smacking himself.
He's like, what's that all about, man?
What was the what about?
What was what about? I don't know what you're talking
Monitoring
about.
the situation, that's it.
You were awake. Fuck you.
Make me hit you with 230 megahertz.
So with this information, scientists thought, hey, we can see the point of view of someone else. Can we give them thoughts too?
Oh, hell yeah.
The scientists sought to control people's thoughts, but they could also maybe upload programs to people's minds, give them new skills. You can make anyone in the world an espionage agent. You can make them sabotage government programs. You can make them assassinate people.
Learn Kung Fu.
Just like the Matrix, that's what I'm saying. But the thing is that there would be no tie to the government. It would just be some random person. They'll do the crime, they will remember what went on, and then they'll get arrested. And you are off scot-free. This is some amazing stuff.
Kill a healthcare CEO. Sorry, kill a health insurance CEO.
There you go. That's it. Now, with this project ramping up, I want to go back to Preston Nichols. So, in the late 1980s, Preston and Duncan are all about the Montauk Project. They visited the base several times, they're deep diving and investigating. And through this research, they find out about Al Bielek. And Al Bielek actually ended up joining Preston and Duncan at a conference they were speaking at. And when Al Bielek was introduced to Duncan Cameron, they talked for hours. And they both felt like they knew each other from somewhere, but couldn't place it. And they both thought it was weird, that they were both part of the Philadelphia experiment in a past life possibly, and that's how they knew each other. And as all their relationships grew with one another, Preston Nichols' memories and visions were coming back stronger and stronger. These visions were no longer just slips. They were massive, reconstructed memories. He would see things in front of him that happened, but he would have no memory of. Like he would get himself a glass of water, and he'd look down, and the glass of water would be empty, with no memory of him drinking it. And this hit a boiling point while he was at work, and he felt a searing pain in the back of his hand. When he looked down, he saw a bandage with a fresh wound underneath it. Now he doesn't remember getting hurt. This was not here moments before. He would have remembered cutting his hand and getting a bandage. He actually went to a nurse at his place of work and asked her if he was ever there for a cut. And she had no idea what he was talking about. He was never there that day. So at this point, he knows something's happening. And he's thinking to himself, I must be living a double life. There must be something about me that I can't remember with all these different memories slipping from me. And after a while of questioning this, he was walking in a hallway at his place of work. And there was an elevator. This elevator was for high classified clearance only, which he did not have. But in that moment, he felt pulled to the elevator. So when no one was looking, he slipped inside, hit the button to the lowest floor, and the elevator began to descend. Now, he's thinking I'll just play it cool, act nonchalant, and we will see what happens.
I mean, all you really need, at least these days, is a high-vis vest and get in anywhere you want.
And for safety, bring a ladder. You can carry a ladder and you can get in anywhere.
Yeah.
Use that in movies. No way my audience is paying $30 for popcorn in a film. The doors of the elevator open, and he calmly walks out of the door. Almost instantly, he sees a security guard. Now he's nervous. So he figured he's this far now, he's just going to walk up like he owns the place. As he walks up, the security guard promptly hands him a security pass. It had his name on it and some numbers. He's thinking in his head, I don't have clearance to this place. Why do I have a security pass? Well, the security guard let him through. And he opened up a door, and Nichols went through and started walking down a hallway. And now he felt like he'd been here before. Things are rolling around in his mind as he's stepping down the hallway, and he's drawn to one room. So he instinctually goes to this room. As he turns to go in, he sees a massive, extravagant office, way fancier than his office upstairs. And on the desk, he sees a nameplate. The nameplate read, Preston B. Nichols, Assistant Project Director. In one life, Preston Nichols is an engineer at AIL Defense Contracting. In another life, he is the Assistant Director of the Montauk Project.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
This is so confusing.
I know. Don't worry, it gets worse.
We're just in there to ask questions.
Do you want to ask a question? We're getting through it now. Do you have any questions?
What year is it right now?
1989.
Okay, it's 1989.
It's the late 1980s at this point.
And he has 2 offices,
Yes. One he didn't know about.
but everyone else knew about.
Only downstairs. I think James is having an aneurysm at this moment. Ask away. I'm the guy with the info here. What do you need?
I don't know. I'm sure. I'm struggling to even formulate a fucking question because I don't know what I'm asking.
What the fuck is going on?
What is going on? What? He's living his day-to-day life, but he has another life and he doesn't remember it, but he's kind of remembering it.
Yes.
Sounds like he just hit his head and has amnesia or something. Like, how can all this stuff be going on and him not currently be aware of it? He didn't time travel at all, as far as I'm aware.
He didn't. But the Montauk Project is working on controlling minds and wiping minds.
Right. So they could have beamed Buddy up to make him think he was a lot lamer than he currently maybe is.
Think about Fight Club. Tyler Durden is the narrator, but he never sees himself as the same person.
I've never seen Fight Club.
Oh, what the fuck? Okay, we gotta see Fight Club. I almost turned off my computer just to watch Fight Club. We gotta watch Fight Club at some point.
Okay, so what you're saying is as Buddy walks away with his pass, he should be careful because his buddy behind him might hit him with a bat.
Who knows? We'll see what happens. This gets really deep.
Like, hey, security, I think this guy's not supposed to be here anymore.
He has the pass. He can get in.
Yeah, but you think if they wiped his memory to make him not be him there anymore, everyone down there would know about that?
Here's the issue.
Yeah.
The mind wiping works on your daily consciousness,
Yeah.
but your subconscious can still remember. So that's why all these guys are slowly having their memories returned to them. It's why they seem to know these places, know these people, and know what happened in these areas.
Like when you start accidentally driving to the wrong place because that's like the muscle memory of it.
That's what they described it. It was like a muscle memory going to these places. They knew where to go, but they didn't know why they were going there.
Yeah.
Same thing with Preston Nichols here in the basement.
Okay, it's starting to make more sense again.
Yes,
Thank you.
no problem. I knew this was going to be a tough one.
I'm getting the hang of it. I was at a bachelor party all weekend and my head's not functioning great.
Yeah, when you told me you were going to a bachelor party this weekend, I was like, oh, cool. And then I saw what was next on the agenda, and I was like, oh, no. This is going to be a tough one for James.
Fighting for my life here.
You'll get there, buddy. Don't worry about it. All right. So we're going back to 1983. Duncan's abilities began to get stronger. He didn't just make things appear on a screen anymore. He made them appear in real life. He could think of something and make it appear in front of everyone. Using this ability crossed with the massive radar tower on top of the station, they could make a wormhole through time. Their goal? Go back in time and fix the Philadelphia experiment.
Why is that their goal?
So apparently this caused a timeline flux. Something went wrong when they jumped off the ship,
Yeah.
and they had to fix it. Something was going to collapse the timeline. According to John von Neumann, one of the generators on the Eldritch failed, and that's what we talked about with the explosion on the ship.
Yeah.
This caused a malfunction when it teleported to Norfolk, Virginia. It caused the ship to go through space and time, which is why everyone came back fused with the ship or fading away. So to fix this, they needed someone to go back to stop the generator from exploding. And he selected Ed and Duncan to do it. Now they were nervous, but Neumann assured them that it would work. Because according to ship records, it already had. But now they have to go back and fix a different timeline. So they went back in time with John von Neumann's instructions, and they were able to stop the ship from malfunctioning. However, only one brother came back, and that was Duncan Cameron. Ed stayed back in 1943. Some people say he chose to stay in 43, some say he didn't make it. But here's the problem with that. When Duncan came back, he began to age rapidly. 1 year for every hour. And he quickly began to die. What happened was, after all this jumping through different time and dimensions, it damaged what they called his time lock. According to the scientists of this project, every soul had a time lock, so that if you did travel through time, your body wouldn't age or get younger with the time. It keeps your electromagnetic signature stable. But all this jumping caused his to stop working.
So it's like a British-made vehicle. It works great the first few times you drive it, then quickly deteriorates.
Exactly. Here's the thing. If Duncan died, this would cause a massive rift now that he's been a part of so many different projects. He's gone back and jumped through time and done all these different things. If he died, it would cause a major paradox. No one would have fixed the Philadelphia experiment. So they had to find a way to stop this.
Stop him from dying.
Yes. And there was only one way to do that. What they had to do was send a message via the Montauk chair back to 1949 to Duncan's father. They had to get him to make another child. And what they were going to do was use the Montauk chair to take Duncan Cameron's electromagnetic signature, or his soul, and put it in the new child, thus making a new Duncan Cameron that takes it the same electromagnetic signature, so he never actually stopped existing.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Every 3 minutes, there's just another completely different thing going on.
Yeah, I know, it's fucking nuts.
Okay, now there's a wormhole. Okay, now there's a chair that can project pictures on the screen. Okay, now there's a guy in a chair that can project things into real life. Okay, now you're looking through someone else's eyes. Now there's time travel.
Yep.
Now there's electromagnetic souls.
Yep.
All right. All right, that's all I can really say is okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool.
Well, if you think about it, it would make sense that souls are an electromagnetic thing. Like how ghosts or spirits affect electric technology. It would make sense that spirits are electromagnetic.
Sure.
Anyway, that's not important.
All right, so they put his soul in a baby.
Yep.
After emailing or airmailing his dad.
They used the Montauk chair to send a psychic time traveling message, yes.
Did he put his own soul into the child?
That's allegedly what they did. They used a thing called age regression to make him young again, to put his soul into a younger being.
All right, that's another new thing.
Yes. They did the same thing with Ed Cameron, because he can't be around either. Because, he was missing. Well, they put Ed Cameron's electromagnetic signature back in a child who would be called Al Bielek, so that the electromagnetic signatures didn't actually leave. So it would continue to stabilize the timeline from all these rifts that they've made. You're not actually losing anyone. You're creating someone who represents that person. We know they're different, but the souls don't.
What about the soul they destroyed to replace?
Don't think about that.
Okay.
After all this, Preston Nichols saw the terrible things that were going on. All these rifts, destabilizing timelines, Duncan Cameron currently dying in the Montauk chair. He decided he was making the world worse. And he thought that shutting down the program was the best thing to do. And luckily, John von Neumann had a protocol, just in case.
Is it that monster you mentioned earlier?
John von Neumann approached Duncan Cameron and whispered in his ear, "The time is now."
That's some sleeper cell shit.
Somewhere on the base,
Yeah.
a rift opened. They all heard it crack open, and out came a monstrous creature. This creature stood at 10 feet tall. was bipedal and covered in hair.
Bigfoot. Why not? Why the fuck not? Why not Bigfoot right
Preston
now?
Nichols once in an interview, it was basically a Bigfoot. Should I go on?
What? Yeah, of course. I want to see what else we can squeeze in this case.
Screaming began erupting from the base. This creature rampaged through the base, destroying anything it could find, murdering anyone who got in its way. The protocol was to destroy the entire base and everyone in it, leaving nothing behind. This was the only way that they could stop the program.
Was Duncan controlling the Bigfoot, or was he already in on it?
He was seemingly the power source behind this creature.
Okay.
So this creature is running through the base, and Preston is panicking. He had no knowledge of this protocol. According to Preston, he got an acetylene torch and began torching the entire office, burning every supercomputer, pulling every plug, but no matter what he did, the rift wouldn't close. The monster continued to wreak havoc, tearing people to shreds. They even tried cutting the power to the entire facility, but even that didn't work. Not only did it not close the rift, but the lights were still on inside the facility. Something was causing an immense amount of power.
Probably the backup generator.
Shut up. Preston Nichols began tearing out the backs of all the computers, pulling apart the Montauk chair, and frying whatever he could find with the acetylene torch. And eventually, he cut something that caused the rift to close, and the monster to disappear. However, some people claim the monster didn't disappear. It wandered off into the woods, and it now stalks Camp Hero and the rural areas of Montauk, New York. And there's an alleged photo of this creature if you want to see it.
Sure, why not?
Here is the picture of the Montauk monster.
Oh yeah, that's about as good as I was expecting. It is a dark gray smudge with a light gray background. It is humanoid and thick. And tall. It is tall. It is big.
Bigfoot's a blurry creature.
Yeah. Hard to take a photo of a magnetic anomaly, I guess.
That's actually a reason people believe cryptids have blurry photos, is because they're interdimensional beings splicing into our reality, and the electromagnetic field distortion is what causes the blurry images. Anyway, so that was the end of the Montauk Project. But this didn't stop people from coming forward. So in the 1990s, Al Bielek, Preston Nichols, and Duncan Cameron all began to come out with their stories publicly.
Duncan lived?
This Duncan was born in 1951.
Oh, the other Duncan.
Yes, there's another Duncan.
The new Duncan.
Yes.
Little Dunk.
Yes. And there's also a new Ed Cameron.
Yeah, Al Bielek. Right. The real monster was the shared mental illness along the way.
So here's the thing. In 1990, Preston Nichols started coming out with all these stories. And in 1992, he put out a book called The Montauk Project that had all of the findings, everything I just told you, and more in one book. Al Bielek began speaking at several conferences. He was booked sometimes for up to 40 conferences in a year, including at MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network's conference. And people would go see him speak about his story. Duncan Cameron was more quiet than the rest of the group, but he still was a big part of the story as well. But now, other people were coming out who were kids used during the Montauk Project. Kids that were tortured, beaten, and made sleeper agents of in the Montauk Project were coming forward because their memories were coming back as well, and Preston's books had a big part to play in that. These kids that came forward were called the Montauk Boys. Some were girls, but the majority were boys. So what would happen is these Montauk Boys were between the ages of 10 to 15 that were taken to Camp Hero and used as test subjects for psychological and psychic experiments. Some of these kids were kidnapped. Some of these kids were runaways. Some of these kids were plucked right from the foster care system. And what was done to them was a tactic called trauma-based conditioning. They would drown these kids to the brink of death and then let them up for air just to beat them mercilessly. They'd stick pins under their fingers and toenails to watch them squirm in pain. Some of them were used in time travel experiments to see what would happen if you put someone in a wormhole. Some of them made it through. Some of them never returned at all. These boys were going to become sleeper agents or future operatives. They were basically developing psychic soldiers. That was one of the many demented goals of this project. Now, some of these Montauk boys were used as energy to help fuel Duncan Cameron. They would use their psychic powers and drain them to help fuel the Montauk chair. And many people have come forward saying they are Montauk boys. People come to Preston Nichols saying, I was a Montauk boy, I have all these problems and visions. People genuinely believe that these were memories returning to them. One of which was a man named Stuart Swerdlow. Now, Stuart Swerdlow had claimed to be a Montauk boy. He spoke about all these crazy experiments he was involved in, and he went in depth on everything that had happened to him. And it was beyond horrifying what these kids went through. Here's the problem.
Why would they release these people alive?
There's a lot of problems, James. So on this page I have here on this computer,
Yes.
I have little anecdotes beside every person that I've talked about with you today.
Mhm.
For Stuart Swerdlow, all I have written beside him is dumb fucking liar.
Oh, yeah. This is where our viewership starts to drop off.
Yes, this will be it because this is where I'm going to start talking about the truth. Stuart Swerdlow is a modern day snake oil salesman to the nth degree. He claims that he was a Montauk boy. He also claims that he was friends with lizard people. He also claims he's a descendant of Atlantis. He also claims that he doesn't have a father because his mother spliced DNA with an alien. He also sells different medicines, dog treats, shirts, all sorts of things. He's marketed himself very well. And the thing is that you can call him out very easily that he is a liar. All of his stories don't make sense, and he's just one of those guys who keeps lying on top of lies, and people keep buying his shit. Would you like an image of Stuart Swerdlow?
Is there like a yearbook photo? Did he go to a school, public school? Can we prove that he was a real child? And yes, I want to see his ratty little snake face.
Here's a picture of Stuart Swerdlow.
I mean, he kind of looks psychic.
Well, yeah, he is a psychic apparently, and he charges a fee, I think, upwards of $600 to deprogram Montauk boys.
He's a Montauk boy,
Yes.
and he charges $600 to deprogram other Montauk boys.
Yes, because he claims he's more powerful than the other Montauk boys and he can deprogram them.
Right.
He offers several services to help deprogramming. I can actually try to find you the services if you want.
Sure. Why not? Let's see the menu. Does he do birthday parties? He would have been good to bring to the bachelor party, I think.
That'd be pretty fun.
Puts his fingers to his head, thinks really hard, and then the jets on the hot tub turn on.
He's touching the button with his foot. So Stuart Swerdlow is said to be a deprogramming expert, said to be charging hundreds of dollars per session, not guaranteed to work. He claims to speak 10 languages, but has never spoken another language in public, though. Swerdlow was under investigation in 1992 for bank fraud in regard to a large embezzlement. Swerdlow said he had no memory of committing the fraud because the government had brainwashed him. He would eventually plead guilty, though, and did serve 33 months in prison.
Yeah, that one didn't hold up in court.
No, it did not. I'm reading this from thehumanexemption.com. It's an article on Montauk called The Proof of Its Proof. Here is a quote from Swerdlow's site about himself. Stuart, a linguist who speaks 10 languages, an expert in deprogramming and determining which Illuminati programs are embedded in the mind of any individual. His mission is to help others heal themselves in a positive way, thus avoiding the negativity he experienced. Also, he calls himself Dr. Reverend Stuart A. Swerdlow. He also has a company called Expansions. And what Expansions is it's a publishing company for all of his books. His books are all on spiritual healing, aliens, deprogramming, overcoming trauma from the deprogramming. He can help scan your body for microchips. And all these designs and methods were made by Swerdlow himself, so you know it's true. And a common catchphrase of Swerdlow's is, "You've probably been programmed. Otherwise, you wouldn't have found me." So anyway, Swerdlow is a known hoaxer, scammer, liar to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to get into the rest of these guys.
Oh no, okay.
This is where I tell you the truth, James.
Uh-oh. People hate that.
I know they do. This is where everyone's going to turn off the show. They did the same thing with the New Jersey Devil, but I am not a liar, and I'm going to tell people the truth.
Okay.
The Montauk Project, by Preston Nichols,
Yeah.
contains a lot of bad things. I'll get to Al Bielek first. So, Al Bielek claims that he was in the Navy or military. There are no records of that. He has given many pictures as proof of his past life that he was on that ship. I have some of those pictures for you.
pictures of his past life, so not him.
Not him. But they are of his past self from his past life. Here is a picture of Ed Cameron, aka Al Bielek.
That looks like a drawing.
That is actually a photo. Only problem is the family that is actually related to that man have come out and said that is not Al Bielek, that is our grandfather. That is Alex Cameron, and he was not on any of the ships that Al claimed he was on.
Alex Cameron.
Alex Cameron.
That's another one.
Yes, but not related to Ed or Duncan.
Oh.
And here's another thing. There is actually no record of any Duncan or Ed Cameron on the Eldridge.
You know, that could be a weird tie-in. Was Alex Cameron? Probably where he got it from.
Maybe.
I
don't know.
Who knows? Coincidence.
Here's the thing. That's not even the strongest reason why he's a liar.
Okay.
He has given several pictures. That's just one of them.
Yep.
And most of the families have come out and said that is not Al Bielek. That is my grandfather or my dad.
Different families.
Different families.
Like, these are just different people he's showing photos of.
Yes. He would just give them to people to prove that he was there.
Where's he getting all these old-ass photos?
No idea. But here's the thing. There is actually no record of any Duncan or Ed Cameron on the Eldridge. There are actually no records in the entire U.S. Navy of anyone with those names stationed on any ships. He said the movie brought his memories back, the Philadelphia experiment. And then the story he told about what had happened to him and his brother was remarkably similar to the plot of the movie. That's about two brothers jumping off the Eldridge during the Philadelphia experiment. He has changed his story constantly. He's added more years that he dropped in before landing in Montauk Air Base in 1983. He adds in different details. He said he visited Jesus one time. He constantly changes his story, and with every other copycat author who has come out to write about the Montauk Project, he adds details from their story to his own. He initially claimed the nuclear war happened in 2000. In 2001, he changed that to 2005. In 2005, he changed that to 2008. And then in 2007 or 8, he changed it to 2015, but he died before he could change the date again. So we're lost now. We actually don't know when the next nuclear war is going to happen. And here's something people actually don't talk about when it comes to this case, but I think it's very important. Back in 1942, there was a group of 5 brothers called the Sullivan Brothers, and they were all stationed on the USS Juneau. And obviously, they all came from the same family. And what happened was, that boat was sunk by Japanese torpedoes, killing all 5 brothers. So the whole family got killed. And there's actually a really good song about this by Caroline Spine called Mrs. Sullivan about this incident. After this, the US Navy put a rule in place stating that relatives weren't allowed to be on the same boat. It was called the Sole Survivor Act. So if you were on one boat, your brother had to be on another boat in case of tragedy. Then you won't lose an entire generation.
Yeah.
That was 1942. This literally happened in 1943. This was post Sole Survivor Act, so these brothers wouldn't be stationed on the same boat. Another thing is they claimed to jump off the boat during a test that happened on August 13th, 1943. But the Eldridge wasn't commissioned until August 28th. It was a brand new boat. Also, it wasn't even in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyards. It actually never docked there once. It was docked in the Brooklyn shipyards at this time. And at the time Bielek said all this happened in August, like I said, Eldridge wasn't commissioned yet. And on October 28th, if you look at the records, it was in the Brooklyn shipyards. It wasn't in Philadelphia. And even if you jump ahead to Carl Allen's claims that he was on the USS Andrew Forsyth in February of 1944 and he saw the Eldridge disappear, if you look at the records, it was still in the Atlantic. It wasn't anywhere close to where it was supposed to be. So, no. Now, we are going to get into the darkest part of this.
Okay.
Preston Nichols. So, I'm going to tell everyone listening now. This is extremely dark. Even for this podcast. It's going to involve mentions of sexual abuse. So if you want to fast forward 5 minutes or so, you can now. So when Preston Nichols spoke about how he would deprogram people, he said the way you had to do it is the subject had to be in an aroused state. And Preston Nichols had to touch you. So what Preston Nichols would do is he would get a bunch of boys ages 18 to 23. And they would be convinced that they were Montauk boys after reading his work. Lots of them runaways, drug addicts, or had different mental issues. He would hypnotize them in his makeshift Montauk room, which was on a school bus. People would hear a struggle. Then the boys would come out looking disheveled, and Preston would look sweaty. Preston Nichols was deprogramming up to 25 boys a week, and Al Bielek and Duncan Cameron just played along with it. And lots of people still believe that all of this is true. This is a massive conspiracy theory that people dive into head first. And lots of people don't mention that these guys were criminals. People actually defend these people, saying that they were framed by the government or their records were manipulated. Possible. But we have all these records, and all you need to do is cross-examine the stories, and you can tell they don't add up. If one story's proven a lie, then they all fall apart. So if Al Bielek's story doesn't work, then the whole thing doesn't work. Also, Bielek had paranoia and schizophrenia, so that doesn't help things. I think everything from Preston Nichols is bullshit. I think the Montauk Project idea is bullshit. And I think the story gets a little too much spotlight on it. Because usually when people tell this story, they preach it like it's gospel and leave it at that. Or some people preach it like gospel and then tell you the truth, which is what I'm doing right now. However, there are some seeds of truth to this. And I'm going to go over those right now.
Sure. And before you do, I was just going to say, like, a lot of it, does sound fake, but a lot of it, and like stuff you said too that disproves it, is stuff that could have been sprinkled in after the fact to muddy the waters.
Yes, that could be true. But here's the thing. Just because Preston Nichols is a bad guy, which he was, he did gross and heinous acts. It's difficult. And the reason it's difficult is just because someone's a bad person and they see something, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying. Let's say, for example, Hitler saw a UFO. And there was a lot of proof and evidence to back up that claim. He's a terrible human being. But maybe that terrible human being saw a UFO. It muddies the waters that he's a bad person. But maybe he saw a UFO. And it's the same thing with Preston Nichols. What if some of these claims were true, but he did some unforgivable, heinous stuff? That muddies the waters.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And it's just kind of like that's too bad.
Yes. But, as I said, there are seeds of truth to this. So, all these things that we went over, minus the wild stuff, this is all stuff that the US government did. All of it. The US government did investigate time travel and interdimensional travel. It was a project called the Gateway Process. They also used psychics to spy on enemies, and did it successfully. That was Project Stargate, which was remote viewing, and that actually worked. And also, the US government did commit horrible acts against its own people. Kidnapping and torturing children. Doing sickening experiments involving drugs and sexual abuse. They did that. That was MK Ultra. They did that for 30 plus years, and no one talked about it. And as I said before, some of these acts were so heinous that a good portion of the files were literally destroyed. So no one could read them. Now, back to the Philadelphia experiment. Carl Allen said that he was on the USS Andrew Furuseth when he saw the Eldritch disappear. But according to records, you can find that the Andrew Furuseth was in the Atlantic at both times this experiment was said to happen.
Yeah.
But he was on the Furuseth, that's confirmed.
What about where the USS Eldritch apparently showed up 10 minutes earlier?
Nothing verified.
Yeah, no witnesses there.
Yeah, there was 5 unnamed British soldiers who allegedly witnessed it. Also, Carl Allen has been described as a known fabricator. He even bragged to his family about all the fantastical stories he was twisting about the Philadelphia experiment.
Not a lot of credibility.
No. But here are the seeds of truth. In Philadelphia at the time, there were classified projects working on stealth technology at the Philadelphia Naval Base at this time. That's true. And John von Neumann was in the US working on important projects. He was a big part of the Manhattan Project. However, he did die in 1957 from cancer. But according to Al Bielek, this was a cover to put him in a witness protection program of sorts so he could continue working on classified projects. And the thing is, these stealth objects that happened in Philadelphia in the 1940s led to other very real stealth projects down the line. Especially in the late 1940s when they did Operation Paperclip, which was a secret operation to bring all the Nazi scientists to the US. Yes, they did that. One of those things they were working on was...
Nasser.
Yes. But also a project called the Flying Wing. which was basically a relic stealth bomber.
A relic stealth bomber?
Yes, it was like a precursor to the modern stealth bomber. Have you seen the flying wing?
It's not ringing a bell.
Here is an image of the flying wing.
Oh yeah, definitely some resemblance there, I'd say.
So these Philadelphia experiments led to stealth bomber tech and projects starting in the 50s and 60s, which also was tied in with how MK Ultra got started. So these real stealth projects led to all these other technologies and experiments. So the thing is, a lot of these things that happened in the Montauk Project, other than the interdimensional time travel extraterrestrial stuff, actually happened.
I mean, they pretty much touched base on everything.
Yeah, they did.
No sci-fi stone left unturned.
You got Bigfoot, time travel, aliens, you got it all. Another thing that adds to the possibility that something weird happened at Camp Hero is there was an urban explorer named Chris Garetano. He was one of the many who explored the base. And as he explored the base, he found more and more things wrong with the government's official story that it's just a radio tower. One of these things is on the official blueprints of the Montauk Air Base, there is no basement. It doesn't exist. Anywhere. However, not only did he find the basement, but he brought a geophysicist to the location, and using imaging technology, they proved that there was a concrete building 20 feet underground. Also, explorer Brian Minnick, the man who made the video I showed you earlier, he found receipts on the property that were dated back to the 1980s. These receipts showed that the base was spending $80,000 a week on food after it was decommissioned. Why so much food for an abandoned base?
Maybe they had to keep feeding Bigfoot so he didn't go on a rampage, you know?
Yeah, we already proved that wasn't real though.
Did we?
Well, kind of. Another weird thing is there's still power to that radar tower to this day. There is a voltage meter on the building and it's still getting power.
You're telling me someone hasn't cut the copper out of that yet?
No, it's still like brand new and still being used.
We have a dam somewhat near here that it's still used. I've been there and people have ripped out a bunch of wiring all over the place. And that's an hour down the logging road in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, this one still has it on there and it still works and it's still supplying power to the station. But everything else is abandoned. Like I'm talking, there's no power anywhere like I showed you. The inside of this place is run down.
Yeah.
And those guys who explored it also found secret underground basements that were there. So there is strange unmarked basements underneath the base.
Well, if you live in Montauk, we need you to go get like a hammer, a chisel, a jackhammer, and go check it out for us. Please.
I think overall, both the Montauk Project and the Philadelphia experiment have a lot of seeds of truth around them. But I don't know about the actual projects themselves.
Sounds like one big movie script to mislead about everything.
And with that, I think we can go to our conclusions. So today, James, on our cases of the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk Project, we have a lot of horseshit and lies that make up the core of the story.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of truth surrounding it. The government did do strange projects involving psychics, drugging the public, interdimensional travel. They did do research and experiments based around these ideas. They did work on stealth technology in the 1940s, which led to stealth bombers and MK Ultra. It's all connected in real life. And also the base is weird. There's things on the blueprints that don't make sense or match with the base, like secret basements. And there's still power going to it. And there's still a lot of people who come out to this day claiming that they are Montauk boys. So with all this today, James, on our scale from 1 to 5, we are going to do 2 different scores. One for Philadelphia and one for Montauk.
One rating for each.
Yes.
Okay.
1, I'm an idiot. 2, you're skeptical. 3, you're on the fence. 4, there's something strange here. 5, we turned a ship invisible and it traveled through time and it created rifts to Montauk, New York, where we did unspeakable world-altering experiments. Where do you come down to today?
Well, I'm gonna give the rating based on essentially the story you told me and not the different things that could be vaguely related, like the stealth bomber. Because we have the stealth bomber, that's real. But that's also not what we talked about. We talked about a ship getting covered in green gas and disappearing 10 minutes earlier. The Philadelphia experiment as presented, I'd say I give that... When I say that's around a 1.5, it's unbelievable. It's just, I don't think that happened.
I understand. And what about Montauk?
And Montauk. I give the story you told a fucking 6 out of 5. That was great. You did good, even though I was confused for most of it.
As was I.
It did literally sound like a movie script or something.
Yes.
Is there a movie about it?
Yeah, there's a movie called The Philadelphia Experiment where the entire plot is basically what Bielek said his story was.
Right, but what about everything after with the Montauk experiment and stuff?
Watch Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's the exact same
Yeah.
thing.
Again, if we're going as presented, I don't really think that most of it was real, as we've discussed. It's almost unfair to give it a number, because, you know, you basically told me it was all made up.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the story of Preston Nichols. I'm more talking about, could there be any validity to this claim? Because of the other things that have happened. Could that have happened at Montauk too? It could have. Because MKUltra was national,
Yeah.
you know? Remote viewing was all over the place. They did a lot of projects like that. A lot of stuff we talked about in Montauk, they actually worked on.
Yeah.
And there's actual files you can read on this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's not hard to find.
So, am I basically saying, like, did stuff similar to this probably happen at Montauk?
Basically, that's what it is. I said blatantly that Preston Nichols' story was bullshit.
Yes.
But I think personally it's
Yeah,
bullshit.
I know. I also think it's bullshit. It's a little way too fantastical.
Yes, I think it's bullshit, but the idea that they did projects at the base.
Yeah. Yeah, the base itself and the experiments they may have done.
Yeah.
I think I hope it's not too unfair, but I think I'm going to land on the fence with that one. A 3. Because even though there's no real solid evidence.
Yeah.
But we do know that waters do get muddied, and truth gets sprinkled in lies, and lies get sprinkled in truths to make stuff seem more or less believable than it really is, and as it actually happened. So I think it's possible, yeah. Some stuff. I don't know if I believe that maybe Bigfoot came through a portal there, for example.
No. Okay, so for me, for the Philadelphia Experiment,
Yeah.
I'd give it a 2.3. I'd say maybe 2.5. I do think they were working on stealth tech, because they were.
Yeah.
It's still classified what exactly they were working on.
Turns out you have to make the boat really narrow at the front, so the sonar or radar just deflects off of it.
Well, did I tell you on the last one the degaussing techniques that they used?
Maybe.
Basically, there's a thing they do where they put electrical cables around the boat, disrupting their electromagnetic field.
I don't recall if you mentioned that or not, but I just know that I saw something recently that basically touched on make front of boat like really narrow and sharp, and then it'll make it appear as a much smaller boat on whatever's picking them up.
They did do things like that, but there was an actual technique to make them invisible to radar, and mines couldn't pick them up.
Right.
It was called degaussing, where they'd put electrical cables around the boat, disrupting the boat's magnetic field, and they'd have to do this consistently, like maintenance,
Yeah.
to keep it going.
Huh.
So there was stuff like that happening, but for the actual Philadelphia Experiment, I'm skeptical it happened. The dates are too inconsistent and the stories are too convoluted.
You don't think that it got surrounded in green gas suddenly from a generator and then disappeared?
No. But I do think something highly classified was going on, and that's why those agents went after Morris K. Jessup, and why he mysteriously died.
Right.
I think there was something to what they were working on. So, yeah, 2.5 for me. Final answer. That's what I'd say. However, for Montauk, I'd give Preston Nichols' story a 0 if I could.
Yeah.
I've watched actual interviews with him, and to me, it looks like he's making it up all on the spot. However, with the idea that experiments were going on at Montauk, the thing is, they did do that. Like, they did attempt experiments like these. And they did look into supernatural topics. So, for me, I'd say 3.5.
I mean, it really is just a guess.
It's literally the only difference between this sort of thing happening and not happening is its location. Because all these things they're talking about, other than the sci-fi stuff, they actually did. So it's not that far out of reach.
I wonder what experiments the Canadian government has done.
That's actually a good topic. I might look into that.
How much maple syrup can you put in a beaver?
I don't think we based our maple syrup on that. Anyway, thank you for listening, everybody. This was a very confusing and convoluted case. I I highly suggest doing your own research on it. I don't think Preston Nichols' story is true at all. I think he's a weird guy who did bad stuff and was surrounded by con men. But they're interesting stories, and there is dark things the US government did that do attach to this. But if you like what we're doing here, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The link is in the description of every episode and our bio. That's where you'll find all our case photos. I post them every Friday with every episode that comes out. If you enjoy what we're doing here, please rate and follow on Spotify and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to this podcast. It really goes a long way. Also, share with your friends. Word of mouth is the best advertisement, and it's free. Also, if you have any ideas for cases, if I've missed anything, or if you have evidence from your own cases that you've done, you can email us at darkdosandpod@gmail.com. And with that, James, any words to the wise?
Maybe don't ask questions in the first 5 minutes of a movie. They'll probably get answered later. And you'll know whoever you're watching the movie with.
Wise words from a wiser man. We'll see you on the next one, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.